On a chilly winter evening, Ralph found a cat waiting on his doorstep, clearly hoping to be let inside. He had no idea that this unexpected meeting would turn into a wonderful surprise. While taking a break to make hot chocolate, Ralph never imagined he'd have a visitor that night. The weather was freezing, with strong winds and a snowstorm expected by morning. As he passed the front door, he noticed a cat peering through the glass, meowing softly the moment it spotted him. It gently tapped the glass with its paw, as if to greet him and ask to come in. As Ralph approached the door, the cat stood up on its hind legs, clearly confident he would open it. Its determined attitude made Ralph feel like he had no choice but to help. He unlocked the door, and the cat quickly slipped inside, bringing a burst of cold air with her. Ralph felt sorry for the little visitor. She must have been out in the cold for quite a while. Once indoors, he closed the door quickly. She was mostly dry, but tiny ice crystals clung to her fur. She gave a shake, sending a few droplets onto the carpet. Up close, Ralph noticed her beautiful coat and fluffy tail. She was a striking blend of white and tabby, well-fed, and nothing like what you'd expect to find wandering in the cold. Ralph headed to the kitchen to make his hot chocolate and decided to warm up some milk for the cat as well. He poured it into a small bowl and brought it to the hallway. After a quick pause, she began lapping it up. When she finished, she followed him toward the kitchen. She moved slowly, stopping often to sniff corners and check every nook and cranny. Ralph reached down and stroked her soft fur, and she responded with loud purring, rubbing against his leg. She was clearly trying to be friendly. "Don't worry about the cold," Ralph told her warmly. "You're welcome to stay the night, or as long as you need." As soon as he said it, he realized he meant every word. He was truly ready to let this cat stay for days, maybe even weeks. This would be the first time in Ralph's life he spent time with a pet that didn't belong to a friend or a family member. As a kid, he had always loved dogs and had dreamed of getting a puppy for his birthday. But growing up in a high-rise apartment made that impossible. Instead, he had to settle for playing with his friends' dogs. After 2 years in the military, his first civilian job involved lots of travel. He visited many different places and enjoyed the variety, but it kept him from adopting a pet, something he'd always wanted. That's why he eventually decided to switch careers, settle down, and buy a home of his own. That part alone took nearly a year, and finding a place where he truly felt comfortable wasn't easy. In a way, he admired the cat for showing up with such confidence. After finishing the milk, the cat was offered a plate of leftover chicken, but she didn't seem very hungry. She only picked at it. Ralph then returned to his sports game, even though he found his attention drifting. As he sipped his hot chocolate, he noticed the cat peeking into the living room. She meowed cheerfully and stared at the large TV screen with curiosity. Ralph turned the volume down, hoping she'd stay and keep him company. But the football game didn't seem to interest her, and she wandered off after only a short while. A few minutes later, Ralph heard a soft meow from the hallway and gave up on the game completely to check on his furry houseguest. The cat was busy exploring, thoroughly checking each room. She seemed especially interested in the bedrooms, and she spent some time kneading the comforter on Ralph's own bed. She also hopped onto a few chairs and eventually climbed a windowsill, where she quietly watched snowflakes fall from the sky. In the guest bedroom, she let out another soft meow in front of the wardrobe. Ralph opened the doors, and the cat stepped inside without hesitation. She made her way straight to a folded blanket on the bottom shelf and started kneading it with great focus. Her purring was so loud it echoed off the wooden walls. Ralph stood by and watched, laughing at how quickly this little stranger had made herself at home. Ralph didn't have much experience with cats, but it seemed like this one had already made herself at home. He felt an odd sense of pride knowing she felt safe in his house, and figured a few scratches on a blanket was a small price to pay for a bit of company. The cat spent the whole evening in the guest room, peaceful and calm around her new host, purring whenever he came near. She didn't want any more food, but she did sip from the water dish Ralph had left out. After checking on her one last time, Ralph headed to bed. The next morning, Ralph got to work trying to figure out if she belonged to anyone nearby. He snapped a couple of photos and showed them around the neighborhood, but no one recognized the cat or had seen her before. He also checked local bulletin boards and online posts for missing cats, but none matched the one now curled up in his guest room. He posted in neighborhood groups and on social media, but no one replied. A few people suggested he take her to a shelter, but Ralph couldn't bring himself to do it. From the moment they met, she had clearly trusted him. Accepting that the cat would likely be staying a second night, Ralph went out to buy a few supplies. He picked up a litter box, some cat food, and a big soft bed. The cat still didn't show much interest in food, but she absolutely loved the new bed, especially after Ralph added the blanket she liked from the wardrobe. Her lack of appetite still worried him. She felt cold to the touch, and he wondered if she had picked up something during her time outside. He brought in an extra blanket and placed a heating pad under the bed to keep her warm. She happily needed her new bed, but still seemed a bit restless. Ralph checked on her often, and each time she purred loudly in response. He figured that if she were truly uncomfortable, she'd at least hiss or try to scratch him. So he chose not to push her to eat, thinking maybe she was just settling in. That evening, more snow began to fall. The cat remained uneasy, but Ralph made sure the room was cozy and warm before heading to bed. The next morning brought a surprise Ralph never expected. As he stepped into the guest room, he was greeted by a soft chorus of tiny meows. The cat was lying in her warm bed, but now she wasn't alone. Sometime during the night, she had given birth to 3 tiny kittens. That's when Ralph realized she hadn't been well fed. She had simply been pregnant. She must have been a stray after all. But now she looked so proud, and Ralph felt his heart swell with affection for the little family. A few days later, Ralph carefully placed the mother and her kittens into a pet carrier and took them to a nearby vet. Thankfully, they were all healthy and got scheduled for their first set of shots. By then, the idea of giving them up felt unthinkable. And since no one had come forward to claim them, Ralph officially became their owner after a month. As the kittens grew and started exploring, Ralph bought them plenty of toys to play with. The mother cat quickly became his loyal little shadow, and Ralph, wanting to be a responsible owner, made sure to have her spayed. Now, with 4 cats who clearly adored him, Ralph's house finally felt like the warm and happy home he had always dreamed of. Have you ever taken in a cat or another animal just because you felt sorry for it? Share your story in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time for more amazing tales.